What's up, YouTube? This your boy CJ coming back at y'all with yet another video. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how I personally line tattoos. This is going to be part 1 out of 2. So I'm going to show y'all how to line it, and I'm going to show y'all how I shaded this tattoo. So for my setup, I did use a 7 round liner to line this tattoo. But as you can see, I'm putting the ointment down, and then as you see right here, I am pulling the line. I'm not pushing. I think pulling is a better method of doing lines, just solely because it has a better flow with your arm. You can literally use your shoulder to drag it down rather than fighting to move your line up. But everyone's different. I'm sure in some parts of this video you will see me actually go up and like push a line, but for the most part I would rather pull lines, So my method of pulling lines kind of goes like this. When I'm approaching the skin, I try to have my needle out just a little bit, but I want to have the machine doing the work for me. I don't want to have to, apply pressure or nothing like that. I want to have the machine do all the work for me. So knowing your machine and knowing your setup is half the battle, because you need to know how fast your hand speed is. You need to know how fast your voltage is going, and then you need to know the stroke of your machine and how long your throw and all that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of like beginner stuff that you would need to know, but I know a lot of people don't tend to know this till they're kind of a little down the line. But if you had an apprenticeship, I'm pretty sure they would go over this with you in the beginning, just so you have the knowledge of how to match the speed of the machine with your hand, because for everyone it's literally different. If you ask me my voltage might not work for you per se, but for lining I personally use around 7 to 7.5 volts, but I still I'm still not moving as fast as y'all would think I am. I tend to move kind of moderately slow, in my opinion. So if you look here, I have this curve coming up, so I put the line down and I'm kind of doing a back and forth motion, and I'm being very, very methodical. Another important part of getting a good line for your tattoo is making sure you have a nice, good stretch. You don't want to have a super stretch where you're stretching the mess out their arm or leg, but you want to have enough stretch to where the needle hits the skin without no hesitation, and it's saturated as soon as you put in. And for super long lines like this part coming up, I actually use my shoulder for the most part to pull long lines like this. I know it looks like I'm using my wrist, but I promise y'all, start using your shoulder. Start getting training of using your shoulder when you pulling lines or do anything like that. It will help you immensely to do this. As you look at this video, there are some moments where I'll double up a line. I only would do this because if I feel like the first line is wasn't too deep enough, I'll kind of go back just to make sure it's in. But you got to be careful doing this technique sometimes, because let's say you have a fine line piece. If you're going back and forth on that certain piece, it's going to have a certain thickness to it compared to all the other lines you put into it. So you have to be real careful and then real thoughtful on how you put the lines down. And you also have to be careful of going over a line too much, because you could damage the skin a little further. I say for lines, if you're doing a single pass line, that's fine. But let's say you want a thicker, bolder line. What some artists would do is they'll run a line next to the original line to get that bold look, or they would do an idea of, I put 2 lines next to each other, line it, and then color in the middle, so you have that bold look for your lines. Also, take note at how I'm holding my tattoo machine. So I'm holding it at an angle. You're never supposed to really hold the tattoo machine straight up and down, because you're going to have more trouble to fight to get the lines in the skin. So I'll always recommend you to hold your tattoo machine around a 45-50 degree angle, angular to the skin. It really helps the needle penetrate the skin easier, and when you pair it with the ointment, it makes it even better for the needle to do its job, and you don't have to apply pressure to get the work done. And also, when it comes to lining certain body parts, certain body parts are going to be harder than others. For me personally, tattooing the collarbone, the neck areas, those can be some problematic areas, because the skin is so thin in those areas, so you have to be really careful of how you line these pieces. For those type of areas, you have to be extra careful, because if you're not, you can cause blowouts. And for the people that don't know what blowouts are when the ink spreads under the skin, or you go like quote unquote too deep into the skin, and you can see like a blurriness effect under the skin, which you don't want. You want to make sure you're not going too deep into the skin. And if you're a beginner out there, a good way to get practice on tattooing lines is to grab some fake skin and print out circles, straight lines, shapes, and then just get repetitive practice of doing that over and over. Do a good amount of that, and I promise you, you'll have a good head start when you're ready for real skin. Now, the difference between fake skin and real skin is that fake skin is usually silicone based. It's kind of like, rubbery feeling, and also they're not moving. But when you transfer to real skin, you're gonna have a living, breathing client, and then the skin is actually a little softer than most of those silicone based products that you practice on. But it's also a good thing to use for consistency. If you look real closely while I was tattooing, I would dip my needle in the ink, right, and then I would kind of tap it on the napkin. I would do this because I personally don't like the ink to be, too splashy when I'm like lining and stuff. I kind of like the needle just to hold just enough ink for me to get it done without, the ink splattering everywhere. And just take a look closer. You see how even and consistent I'm pulling the line? I'm not rushing through it. I'm making sure everything is nice and in there before I move on to the next area. But I'm pulling it with one pass, so that's how you know, like, it's in there. I don't have to hit it again. All right, and just like that, I'm about to pull my last line and we're done. But if you want more videos like this where I'm telling y'all how I go about tattooing, just leave a comment below and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so I can keep pushing out these videos for y'all. But I'm gonna let y'all watch the end of this video. There will be a part 2 dropping soon, where I will be talking about how I color this in. I'm gonna be shading this all black, so look out for that next video, and I will see y'all soon. All right, peace.